What's happening, everybody? It's been a couple minutes since I did a video here, so I thought I'd do one quick. Some people have been asking about the new hobby stock project, and I just thought I'd give you guys an update after our big weekend we had last weekend. Went to Jefferson for the Pepsi Wisconsin State Championships, otherwise known as the two-day. Had a pretty good first day. We were I was quick time and won the preview feature on Friday. And the way that whole deal worked is in years past, the overall was based off of Saturday only, so Friday didn't really do a whole lot for you as far as the overall win. This year they changed that, so qualifying and the preview feature and your two features on Saturday all went towards your overall. So it was like basically like playing golf, low number one. So I was quick time, so that was a 1, and I won the preview feature, so that was a 1. So I had a 2 going into Saturday. I think second, there's a 3-way tie for second with 11, I want to say. So I had a pretty good lead going into Saturday. Fast forward to Saturday, I want to say I started 9th. I think I started 5th row inside. Got up to the lead, was passing for the lead with like 6 or 7 to go, and caution came out. I went back to second, went back racing, and I knew under caution I had a problem. It felt like the rear end was falling out of it first off. I'm like, I knew that couldn't be, and gassed the thing back up to come to get the green, and the left rear tire was flat. So that was unfortunately a DNF. That gave me a 16. That was a 6. I finished 16th in the feature, so that gave me an 18 total going into the last feature on Saturday. Leader had a 12, so I had to beat him by 7 spots. I was able to start. I started 18th in the second feature on Saturday. Got myself all the way up to second in 30 laps, and the guy who won ended up finishing third. So I beat the person I wanted to. I beat the person that was leading. Jared Veek had 12 points going into the second feature. I had 18, but the guy who won it was actually, I think he was actually 4th going into the last feature. We were all pretty close right there. So anyway, I ended up second by 2 points. Long story short, so not quite where I wanted to be, obviously, but one day I'm going to win that race. I tell you, it's I've tried so many times to win that, and I've always come up short. So unfortunately, that's just kind of how the racing deal goes. But moving forward from there, that's in the past now, and then that's history, and we just got to move forward from there. So update on the new hobby stock. I'll flip you around here. This is the frame. We got it back from sandblasting, and it's in pretty good shape. There was the rear rails were pretty soft. You know, the rear rails back here, and anybody who knows anything about GM products knows that the rear rails are usually the first thing to go. So they were rotted. They were pretty soft. So cut those off, made a new rear stub. There was a soft spot right here. I ended up putting a patch in. I got the rails plated. There was the body mount hole on that side is in pretty good shape. The one on this side was pretty. It was, you know, it was about that big by the time it got done. So I put a patch over that just so I can put the body mounts back on it. Don't have to worry about the frame folding up. So the crush boxes on these, and back by the trailing arms, and the bottom of the trailing arms, and the rear rails, and then up by the steering on these cars, where the idler arm and the box mount on. Those are always pretty soft. So this one's in pretty good shape. There is a couple of little pinholes in this side. I'm probably gonna end up putting a plate on. And like I said, I got that one little patch back here just in front of the hump. But other than that, this one's in pretty good shape, I think. So this is definitely a race car frame. It wasn't this wasn't gonna be a street car or a hot rod frame. It was pretty far gone for that, but for our application, it works out pretty good. So got the horns cut off and plated. I always cut the horns off of my frames and plate the fronts just to, you know, let those horns stick out like another, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 inches. And it's got the big flange on there to mount the bumper shotgun. I get rid of all that stuff and cut them back just because when you hit something, I want to try to keep the frame back as far as I can, so that way it doesn't destroy the frame. And I'll put a piece of tube out here with a receiver for a bumper. So like I said, yeah, I gotta get my motor back. When I get my motor set in there, on these metric cars, you're allowed to move the motor back so that the number 1 spark plug is in line with the upper ball joint. So that's, that's going to move the motor back quite a ways. So we're going to have to cut part of the frame out there and plate it back in for the fuel pump. And yeah, it's kind of moving right along. I got part of the floorboard, or part of the floor pan, I guess, made. I gotta make, once I get the motor and tranny in, then I can get the X made for it. So we're kind of waiting on motor and transmission right now. That stuff is all on order. I'm just waiting for the track to go up and seal it, seal the crate motor up. So, and the floor over here, I got the floor and the firewall cut apart. We're gonna put this on the frame. This was a 4-door. This was the post for the middle post. So I cut that all out of there. I'll put the floor and the firewall on the frame. Then I'm gonna cut everything back here out, and I'm gonna weld that to the back of there once it's all together, and the roof will be separate. So just because I do all this stuff by myself, I don't have I don't have a bunch of hands helping me. So I cut it in half just so it's maneuverable, and make it a couple smaller pieces. But then when I get the cage on, or I'll get the floor on, I'll get the cage on, then I'll put the back part out. I'll put the back, basically the rear package tray, I guess you could call it. I'll put that all on, weld it all back together. So there will be a little bit of fabricating involved. I'll probably get rid of most of this and make my own, just out of some sheet metal. So I'm gonna get the roof gutted and get the trunk floor cut out of it, and all the stuff that goes along with getting one of these gutted. So I'll try and take you guys on a ride for that too if I can. So what else? Over here we got all of our lower control arms got sandblasted, and I got them plated. I plate the backs of these just so when I pound the bushings in and out, it doesn't collapse that. If you don't put a piece there and you pound the bushing out, a lot of times they like to collapse, and then those bushings don't fit properly. So I got those sandblasted and cleaned up. I got everything. Got the lowers plated. Got both the uppers plated. So I do have to still take and make some pieces for here, so when I pound the bushings in, those don't collapse, because these are really, really flimsy. I mean, these are not very strong at all until you get something in them. So what else we got? Got the saddles for the sway bar. Yeah, just kind of picking away at it here. So I'm gonna do a little bit of work today on it. I think maybe try and get a couple of patch plates made up, and maybe do a little cutting on the firewall and kind of get that ready so I can get it in there and get some holes cut where the cage has to go, and try and use as much of this as I can. It just saves from having to make a bunch of it later. So I'm gonna try and save as much of it as I can. It's a hell of a project I got myself into here, let me tell you. A lot of work goes into these cars. I know they're just, everybody thinks hobby stocks, they think they're all junky, knock the windows out and go, but these are definitely full-blown race cars, and a lot of work. It sucks getting a car, getting it home, and then you have to go backwards. You have to go backwards before you go forward. So we're still in the going backwards part now. So once we get all the stuff cut out of the firewall here, maybe we'll be going forward then. So I'll take you along for a ride the best I can, and forgive my camera work here. Like I said, I'm kind of a one-man operation, so I gotta work plus film this deal. So I will we'll get you mounted up here, and we'll get to cutting. cut apart. There are a couple of hooks here from the factory. I'm not sure what they're for. I think they're for where they lowered the body down onto the frame on the production line. I think that's the only thing I can think they're for. All GMs have them. There's a big hook right here. So cut those off, and we cut the tray out where the windshield wiper and the windshield wiper motors and all that assembly goes. There's a big bracket right here for I think that was for the windshield wiper motor. So we cut all that out. Like I said, per our rules, we can move the motor back so that the number 1 spark plug is in line with the upper ball joint, left front upper ball joint. So that puts the distributor way back in the firewall. So when we get the motor in, we get the motor in transmission in the frame, we'll build the X, I'll build the transmission mount, and then when I put the firewall on, I'm gonna have to cut quite a bit of this out and kind of build a doghouse in there, so the distributor and the valve covers have clearance. So I'm not gonna get too carried away with cleaning all that up right now. I mean, I did kind of, I ground some of this smooth just so it looks a little nicer. I'm kind of overly anal on the way things look as far as things being cut and hacked, and I don't want to be working on something with a bunch of sharp edges and cut your hands all to hell. So so like I said, I'm not gonna get too worried about cleaning all this stuff off right now, because I think a lot of it's gonna end up having to come off when we cut it out. So with that being said, I think we're probably good on the firewall for now. I do got to get inside here. I got to get the rest of the dash out, get all this insulation and garbage out of here, get all these tabs cut off, and just kind of clean everything up in here the best we can. Get the carpet out of it, get the rest of the seat belts out of it. Clean up where the old pillar used to be. I'll probably end up having to make a patch for that to cover that hole up, because they want you to keep the tops of the rockers. Well, I guess they want you to keep the entire rocker in there. So these are actually in pretty good shape, so I think we'll probably keep as much of that as we can. And when I weld the cage in, the main hoop is gonna go somewhere in here. I'll probably end up cutting a big square out of that, weld the cage in, and then I'll put that square back on, make it look like it's supposed to be there. Same with up here. When I weld the A-post, and I'll probably end up cutting a big square out of there. I'll weld the cage to the frame, then take this piece, cut it in half, and then kind of fix it back around both the pipes. So just kind of a lot of stuff that goes into building one of these things, especially having to use the stock rockers and floor. You know, some cars are cut away a lot more than others, but some cars are in a lot worse shape than others too, as far as when you get them. In this thing, the floors are in pretty decent shape on this one. It's tough to find a Wisconsin car with the floors still intact and the rockers still intact, so I got pretty lucky on this one here. So, but we're gonna try, and I'll cut as much away as I can, you know, just for the weight, but I don't want to get too crazy where they start, you know, I don't want to show up the first tech day and they have to have me go through the thing and put a bunch of stuff back in it, so that's no fun either. So we will continue on. All right, so I got thinking about this. I think I'm gonna add a plate over this body mount hole on this side too, just so it matches that side. And then when I put the body mounts in, I'll just drill a hole through here and then go right through the plate, because the body mounts I'm getting probably aren't going to be the same size as the original ones, since, you know, they're not going to be actually body mounts. They're probably used as some sort of something rubber the same size. I'm not buying body mounts to put back in this thing for really no reason. So I'm gonna make a plate, weld this thing up, and make it look like the other side. That way everything matches and the heights will be the same size, or same height. I don't want to be sunk down in the frame, one to be up on top of the frame. So. Anybody worried about the fuel jugs? They're empty, don't worry. I wouldn't burn my shit on it. now we can get our body mounts will be, you know, flush top and the same height both sides. So like I said, that side over there I did mostly because that body mount hole was pretty rotted out, but I got it sandblasted. It was pretty well gone. Same with over here on these on these metric cars. There's a big gusset that goes back to about here, and then the tranny cross number bolts through that across and then hold the transmission up. And the top of this was completely, the transmission mount was just hanging there, so I cut all that out of there and kept as much of that gusset as I could. That's a lot of strength in that gusset, you know, coming all the way back. But I had to cut most of it out, unfortunately, because it was, like I said, it was all rotten. So probably when I put the plate, you know, plate the side rails and get the X in there and everything, I think it's gonna be, it'll be okay. So I'm not too worried about it. There we go. You know that saying, if it's dumb, but it works, then it isn't dumb? I think this might be what they're talking about. Alright everybody, I think that might do it for today. We got a little bit done here, so we got the plate welded on over here for the other crush box body mount, and got quite a bit of the firewall cleaned up. Got all the extra bracing and stuff up here cut out, so when this is all done and I put my dash in, my dash will actually rivet off of this little flange that's left here and, you know, go straight back to the steering wheel area. So got all the extra stuff out here cut off and cleaned up, and got the windshield, or what's left of the windshield, cut out of it. I gotta get I don't know where my putty knife went. I had a nice putty knife, I'm not sure where that went, but I gotta get that and get the rest of this rubber all peeled off it and cut off it. Just get it kind of cleaned up. Get all there's a bunch of seam sealer and Bondo and stuff in here we gotta get cleaned out. But like I said, a lot of this the drive shaft tunnel out here and into the tunnel in here is a lot of that's going to get cut out to make room for the engine. So I don't want to do a ton now and then end up having to redo it or go too far or whatever. I want to do just as much as I have to. You know, I want this big gaping hole there where there doesn't have to be. So I'm going to probably call her quits for today and head in the house and get some dinner and get a shower and start my weekend. So I'm probably going to be back out here tomorrow. I'll hopefully make another video tomorrow. Just kind of keep chugging away on it, I guess. Like I said, the biggest thing right now is we're waiting on the motor and the transmission and all those kind of parts, waiting on all that stuff to get here so we can really get going on it. Because like I said, I'm kind of stuck until I get the motor and tranny in it. Because I got to build the foot box and I got to build the firewall and I got to build pretty much everything around the motor and transmission. I don't want to build the X in the foot box and then put the tranny in and realize that the transmission smashed into the foot box. So it's just have to stay patient, I guess, is the biggest thing. So we will keep chugging away on it, and I'll try and take you guys along for the ride. So thanks for watching. We will see you down the road.